Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Dr. Nathan Thompson with Exemplify Health Center, Wellness Way affiliate, right here in Yorkville, Illinois. Hope you guys are enjoying your Monday. Apologize, I'm going a little bit early. I know that I said I was going to be going at 6:30 tonight, but I have something that I need to do tonight, so it must get done, and this is the next best time that we will go over this. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be an extremely popular video, but I think it's actually the most important, and the reason why is you could have the best plan in the world, you go to the best doctor in the world, but if you are not willing to change this, it's just, that's where it starts, is you need to change your perspective, and you need to also, for some people, really quit your stinking thinking, because without changing this, it doesn't matter what the plan is if you do not follow through with it. And being in clinical practice now for 18 years, you see patterns, and you see people who you know, they're going to have a really tough time doing this, not because it's a tough case, but what happens is that they're not willing to change up here. And we had a couple of interesting interactions over the last week or so. I thought, you know what, I should probably talk about this and maybe give people a heads up. If they are in fact lying to themselves and they are doing these upcoming health rationalizations that do nothing but just keep you exactly where you're at, if not even worse. But the most important thing is that it keeps you sick. This is why so many people I even talk about this in my book, Transformation 28, while so many people are looking for the strategy, when in reality the first thing that they should actually seek out first is the change in mindset. So many people chase the strategy. They chase the next workout fad. They chase the next amazing supplement. They chase the next protocol, and none of it works. And the reason why is because you haven't changed this up here. And actually, I said this even in the book, is that a mediocre plan that's executed to perfection is better than the best plan that is never executed. So I only guys want you to watch this if you guys are willing to grow up here, and if you guys are willing to learn, and if you are willing to maybe put your ego aside a little bit, because I might offend some of you. Now, I do that obviously in love, but I will tell you that no change ever takes place unless you are first offended. When I look at the tremendous change that has taken place in my own life, I was first really offended, first and foremost, and thank God that I had people who lovingly and sometimes abrasively offended me, but got me to the point where I needed to change. So guys, are you lying to yourself? And if you only want to grow, then watch from this point forward. I imagine there will probably be some people who will still try to rationalize some of these behaviors or some of these lies that they are telling you. And it doesn't matter, if what your excuse is, it's not going to move you forward. And we don't want to talk about excuses, but what we want to talk about instead is solutions. Don't be a problem finder, start being a problem solver. So if you guys are watching right now, thank you very much for watching. Make sure that you just say hello. Let me know where you're watching from as well. And thank you to those awesome people that were on the Make Immune Systems Great webinar on Saturday. We had a great time. So thank you very much for being a part of that webinar. I think it was absolutely awesome, and I hope you guys felt the same if you guys were on that webinar. So guys, coming up a week or 2 weeks, I believe, November 8th, which is election night in the United States, I think, or at least in Illinois. We are going to be doing our year-end approach to inflammation. And guys, inflammation is the spark that creates every single disease out there. So many people are coming in not handling inflammation and dumping a bunch of supplements or vitamins or even chiropractic adjustments with little clinical benefit. And the reason why is because they first haven't handled the right things in the right order. And so if you're not registered for that and you're from the Chicagoland area, just go right up to the top of this page, pinned. You'll be able to register for our last inflammation talk of the year. I can't wait to see you guys there, okay? Now, another thing that I was thinking about, let me know, guys, if you are interested in this. Obviously, we're going to need a minimum of people to participate in it, but this is something that someone can participate from all across the world. And we were thinking about actually doing a no sugar challenge I won't give you a ton of the details, but it is not having any sugar. I didn't say carbohydrates, but doing that right after October 31st, starting on November 1st, and then going up to the Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving Day, because let's be honest, nobody's going to follow it on Thanksgiving. So it would be, I think, 3 weeks and 2 days, so about 23 days of doing no sugar. And one of the reasons why is because during the holidays, people completely neglect their health. They go on a 3-month hiatus when it comes to anything that's going to be moving their health forward. And I always say, if you did that every single year, and then you included birthdays, family birthdays, other holidays, you are literally spending 4 months of your life completely neglecting and destroying your health. And just remember this, I don't care how great a time that you can have a great time without a bunch of bad food. We attach a lot of times unhealthy food to having a good time, which means that we put too much value in the things that really don't move our life and move our health forward. And so we're going to thinking about doing a no sugar challenge. And if you are interested in participating in that, just let me know. If we have enough people interested, we'll create a special Facebook group for that. And then that way we can give you kind of what you need to do for the no sugar challenge and have a great time of doing no sugar for the next 23 days. But guys, I want you to think of something, is that so many people, they say it's the holidays, I'm busy, whatever. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, whatever chronic condition that you have doesn't care. It doesn't care. That's the cold hard truth, is that you can't suspend the laws of science and physics and gravity just because it's the holidays. It's like someone jumping out of an airplane without a parachute and saying, "Oh, not a good time right here. Can we put this thing with gravity? Can we put this thing on hold for a while?" And you cannot suspend the laws just because you feel like it. So this might be a great introduction for you to be able to start the process of going off of sugar. And we'll give you guys, if we have enough interest in it, we'll give you guys enough resources so that you guys can understand truly what we mean behind no sugar. So if you're interested in participating with that, I'm not looking for people who are interested. I'm actually looking for people who are committed and not lying to themselves, thinking that they are, to think that that's a good idea, but saying, I'm 100% committed to doing this, and I guarantee you doing this for 3 weeks, you actually can notice an awesome, tremendous amount of change. So guys, let me know in the comments below. Because I'm going to tell you something, people will come up to me and say, "Oh, Dr. Nate, you don't understand, I'm a tough case. I'm a really, really tough case. You're going to have a lot of fun with me." And in all honesty, I've seen every single type of case. There's really nothing new under the sun. People like to think that they're a special and that they're unique. And in reality, when people say, "What's your toughest case?" I will say it's not actually my toughest case. It's a certain type of person. And in fact, it's that type of person that will give these 5 health rationalizations. And the reason why is because I truly believe there's not any incurable illness, but there are incurable mindsets if they are unwilling to start to change it. So real quick, I want to go over with you guys why you stay sick, okay? Why you stay sick. There's only 2 reasons why. Number 1, you didn't know you could heal. You didn't know that you could heal. And there's a lot of people who say, "I don't know how to do this. I need the help in order to help me to heal. I need the guidance. I need the coaching in order to help me heal." But a lot of times when you lay out what they're supposed to do, what it really comes down to why they stayed sick is not because they didn't know, it's because they actually didn't want to. And that's very tough, is that there are some people who, once they know, they really don't want to because of the amount of work that it takes, the amount of commitment, and the amount of dedication, and the amount of time that it takes in order for someone to truly experience healing. This is not something that takes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Heck, if you read like any physiology textbook, if someone breaks their arm, it takes a whole entire year for the bone to completely heal and remodel stronger than it was before. And it's really no different when it comes to principles of healing, is that yes, it can take 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, sometimes 18 months in order to heal, but the length of time should not matter to you because you should just be willing to take the next step. Because when you're talking about lifestyle, it's not like you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to turn on this great lifestyle and then I'm going to heal myself and then I'm going to just turn it off and I'm going to go back to the lifestyle I was doing before." So in reality, the length of time shouldn't matter, or what you need to do shouldn't matter, and that you should always be moving in a positive direction. But a lot of times when it comes down to it, they really, really didn't want to. Notice how I said they couldn't afford it. Notice how I said they didn't have the time. Because in reality, anytime that you want something bad enough, your brain will figure out a way to create the resources and to create the time in order to make it happen. I told that lie to myself many, many years ago, and finally I said, that's it, that's enough. Quit being a baby, Dr. Nate, whatever. And once I started doing that, my brain started to look for solutions rather than always see the obstacles. So guys, we give ourselves so many rationalizations, and really what they are is they're just, we call them rational lies. How we lie to ourselves, but we try to dress it up as pretty as possible so that we feel good about the fact that we are still sick and never moving our life, our health, maybe our relationships even forward. So what is a rationalization? The action of attempting to explain or justify behavior or an attitude with logical reasons, even if these are not necessarily appropriate. And so when you ask people, why do you have this, or why do you have that, or why do you have these things, and they'll say, well, it's genetic, or I just don't have enough time, or I'm just too tired, and they'll give all of these logical reasons, but at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, I'm saying this to me, and it makes me feel better, but is it actually making me healthier? Now, the things that I'm going to go over with you in just a second, and make sure that you continue watching if you want to grow. But if you don't want to grow, please do not continue watching this video, okay? The reality is this. We rationalize our behavior according to the behaviors of our circle, okay? The reason why I say that, and you're going to understand why I'm saying this, is because we tend to look at who we hang out with, or we tend to look at where we live. We tend to look at why we live in the United States, and we compare ourselves to those people. And let me give you an example. Here in the United States, we lead the world in obesity. Therefore, if you're comparing yourself to every single person in the United States, in which you have, 35% obesity rate in the United States, and if you're comparing yourself to someone obese and you're still sick, you're going to say, well, I'm not as bad as that person, or I'm not as bad as my friend, I'm not as bad as my cousin, that's in my circle. And so you compare yourself to other people who are just as sick or sicker. This is why, guys, we always say labs don't lie. I always thought I was doing good until I measured. And then when you measure, you realize labs don't lie. And when you measure things, you quickly realize that I'm doing worse than what I thought, because mentally we always want to think that we're doing better than we really think we are. And that's why we always say that numbers don't lie. Now, I'm going to tell you this before we get into the 5 things. You cannot heal with the same mindset that contributed to your illness. Let me say that again. You cannot heal with the same mindset that contributed to your illness. Look at one of the most lifestyle-based, quote-unquote, I don't call it a disease, I call it an injury, type 2 diabetes. And if you come into it with the same mindset that created the type 2 diabetes, then it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be actually impossible, because you won't heal with the same mindset that caused you to have type 2 diabetes. This is actually the same thing too. Being a gym owner and doing wonderful things in the realm of fitness, is that I say the fitness that we do is truly for everyone. It will benefit everyone, but it is not for every mindset. And the reason why is because people don't want to do things hard. People don't want to be uncomfortable. People don't want to sweat and be out of breath and maybe experience some pain, maybe even get injured as your body is telling you, hey, you're not ready for this level of volume yet. People live in fear so much, and they want to shrink back, and they also always want to do what's comfortable. But if you only do what's comfortable, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to stay sick, because you've become comfortable with your sickness. And so the number one thing I'm going to tell you guys, when it comes to, you can have all of the best clinical data in the world, know exactly what to do, but if you don't change this, you'll never follow through. And that's why a mediocre plan that's perfectly executed is better than the great plan that is never executed. So let's go over the 5 lies that you tell yourself that keep you sick, okay? Number one, the reason why I'm going over this, because many times this is what people tell me when I'm interacting with them the first time or on their first appointment, is they immediately want to tell me how awesome they are, yet they're sick. Guys, what this really comes down to is this comes down to wearing a mask, hiding behind a facade of ego. I tell people, it's like, you just have to be really honest with me in order to move you forward. And it's the people who are truly, truly being honest with me and honest with themselves, will they actually get better faster. But we always want to say that we're doing better than we really are. So here is the number one thing that I hear people, literally rationalize and lie about. They say, Dr. Nate, I am not a pill popper. Well, congratulations, because no one wants to consider themselves a pill popper. But who are you comparing yourself to? I've seen people say, I'm not a pill popper, but they're on 6 medications. I've seen people who said, I'm not a pill popper, and they're on 12. I see people who are not a pill popper, and they're on 2. Well, define to me what a pill popper is. What you're saying is I don't like to take medication, but I will if the doctor scares me into it. So I'm not a pill popper. Well, I want you to look at this, okay? This right here, and this is actually covering this up, but this is the number of prescriptions that were filled from 2013 and then projected into 2025. And you actually see that number popping over this right here. And this actually comes out to, in the United States, projected within the next 3 years, 5 billion prescriptions will be filled in the United States by 2025. Let me say that again, 5 billion prescriptions. So when people say I'm not a pill popper, nope, you are. You will take a medication, and rather than find out the reason why, the doctor will scare you and then convince you to take a medication that many times is completely useless, like number one, a cholesterol-lowering drug. And so this actually comes out to, if you say by 2025 there's going to be about 350 million people in the United States, this comes out to 14 prescriptions filled per person per year. So 14 prescriptions fulfilled per person per year. This includes babies, this includes children, this includes anyone from born all the way up into the end of life spectrum. The average is 14 prescriptions filled per person per year. Now, I have not taken a prescription drug in now 23 years, so someone is actually making up for that because I'm not the one doing it. My family is not the one that's doing it. In fact, my 3 kids have never had any kind of prescription drug, over-the-counter drug, ever filled, so someone else is making that as well. And guys, I will tell you is that once it becomes 1, it will quickly lead to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, because one effect produces another effect that there's going to try to hush with another different medication. Lie number 2, I eat pretty clean. Oh my goodness. Guys, if you would go outside of Walmart or Target and you would ask 100 people walking through the door, hey Bill, hey Mary, hey John, do you eat pretty clean? Do you eat well? And people are going to say, I eat pretty clean. Huh, yeah, I eat pretty clean. I'm like, well, what does pretty clean mean? There's no measurement. There's no standard that you're measuring it against. What on earth do you mean by pretty clean? Because one person will say, well, I only have 4 beers and 9 slices of bread and then 3 Little Debbie cakes at night. That's pretty clean. And then some people who say pretty clean, they might actually be eating pretty clean. And I'm going to show you the criteria that I would use, whether you're eating clean or not. But here's what's interesting, is that very few people say, I eat like garbage. Maybe 5% are willing to have a frank conversation with themselves. And another 5% on the other spectrum say, yeah, I actually do eat very clean. Here's why. And then you have the 90% who are in the middle that are saying, I eat pretty clean. And the reason why you put this right here, this pretty, is because you know that you're probably not really eating clean. And it's a descriptive word of saying, well, I'm not terrible, I'm not great, I'm just kind of in the middle, which is where most people want to be. Most people want to be in what is known as the exquisite middle. It is the best of the worst of the best, the cream of the crap. That's what we call it. But they also don't want to be that person who does it too much. And we also don't want to be that person over there that really lets himself go. So I always say, well, what on earth, guys, do you mean by pretty clean? Look at this right here, because these are people who are eating pretty clean. From PubMed, from 2020 of May, so about 2 years ago, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease 2020, the state of the disease. Here's what they actually said. In the United States, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and its subtype, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, affect 30% of the population. Considering the ongoing obesity epidemic beginning in childhood, the rise of diabetes and other factors, the prevalence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, along with the proportion of those with advanced liver diseases, is projected to continue to increase. So when you look at everyone in the United States, every man, every woman, every child, every baby, 30% of our population, which is actually coming out to probably 90 to 100 million people, have what's known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that is number one contributed to sugars, particularly the overconsumption of fructose. So when you look at this and you look at people saying, I'm eating clean, I'm saying, who on earth are you comparing it to? Because I will pick 1 out of 3 of you and you will already have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that is leading to massive inflammatory issues and blood sugar issues and inability to normally process hormones, toxins, and things like that, as the liver is doing a tremendous amount of function. So that there is measured. So guys, what do you mean about pretty clean? Here's what I would say if you know you are eating a pretty clean diet. Number 1, how are you eating according to inflammation? Guys, this is why food allergies are so important. Number 2, where are your insulin levels at? Insulin levels should be at ideally 3 to 5. I measure my insulin levels. I measure my food allergy tests. But insulin levels, most of the time when people are coming in, their insulin levels are sitting at 18 to 25. Recently we had someone whose insulin levels were at 27. And so we know that they are not eating clean, okay? There's way too much sugar or stress that's actually taking place. So you should be first and foremost concerned about inflammation, then number 2, your insulin levels, and then number 3, making sure you are getting the micronutrients, because these are the things that are responsible for healing and repair and various enzyme activities taking place. And then you should worry about your macronutrients after that, all right? So when people say, what kind of macro, like carbohydrate, fats, protein should I eat? And I say, you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. You should start to master this one, and then we can work on this one later. And then the last one is actually then you are concerned about performance. Performance, we would be talking about people who are athletes saying, hey, how do I get stronger? How do I get faster? How do I recover better after workouts? But if they're not doing these right here, this right here is way, way too early in the ball game to even consider doing that. So how many people know their food allergies? How many people know what their insulin levels are? How many people know, because your body will leave you a clue as far as your micronutrient intake, how are your macronutrients? And then the last thing that you even consider, which many times we don't even discuss with people because they're not concerned about performance, is looking at performance and helping to maximize that as well, okay? So I eat pretty clean. Lie number 3, Dr. Nate, I have a pretty high pain tolerance, okay? Pretty high. Woo! All right. So everyone wants to say that I eat pretty clean. I have a really high pain tolerance. I'm not a pill popper. And yet they're coming in and yet they're still taking pain medication. Here's the thing. People say I have a high pain tolerance. I'm like, what on earth does that even mean? Now, I will tell you that women do have a higher pain tolerance than men, especially if you have given birth. But pain, again, is entirely subjective. I want you guys to know that. You will actually hurt more when you are mentally stressed out and even emotionally exhausted. You will just tend to hurt more. And so people want to say, well, I just don't take anything, for this or that, but let the pain get worse. And yes, you are running to your doctor and taking different types of pain medication and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So here's what's interesting is, again, because we're comparing it to our peers and we're comparing it to other people in the United States. Americans consume more opioids than any other country. So when you look at the United States, Here is the daily opioid use for every 1 million people, sitting at 50,000, and then you have all of the other countries. Now, I believe that the United States has actually very strategically caused the opioid crisis, number one. And number two, I also think that they have lied to the public in regards to opioid use. And I also believe that they have created the problem and that they've also created the solution. Guys, you don't have to look very far to see commercials saying, hey, do you have opioid-induced constipation? Here's another medication for that. But guys, in the United States, we are pill poppers. We eat terribly, and because of the amount of illness. And then we do also don't really have a high pain tolerance because we're leading the world by far and away by about 40% more when it comes to opioid use, okay? Now, the lie number 4, I'm in pretty good shape. I am in pretty good shape, Dr. Nate. I'm in good shape. Well, what are you comparing that to? Are you comparing it to your neighbor that is in a walker? Well, then of course you're going to be in pretty good shape. What is the standard that you are asking yourself or you're comparing yourself to truly know if you are in good shape or not? I remember this was about 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago, when I did my first CrossFit workout. It was called a baseline workout, and I had to row 500 meters, run 400 meters, do, I believe it was 30 air squats, 20 push-ups, and 10 pull-ups. And I remember I walked into there with my ego and I did it, and it was like in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Then I got off the floor absolutely exhausted, and I asked the coach, I said, that was pretty good, wasn't it? He said, well, you know, the fastest one that I've seen is in 5 minutes. And I thought, oh, I guess that was not very good. So the only reason why I knew that pretty good was actually pretty bad was because it was measured. And I remember I redid that workout maybe 2 years after that, and it went from 7:30 down to about 4 minutes and 45 seconds. So did I know that I was getting in pretty good shape? I measured it. But just the fact, guys, that you can walk a mile or 2 miles doesn't necessarily mean that you are in pretty good shape. So here is some things that I would say would actually say that you are, in fact, pretty good shape. This is actually something that I believe that all of us should be working towards. You may not get there, but there is something valiant in working towards these goals. Number 1, can you guys do a dead hang for 90 seconds? Can you hang from a pull-up bar for 90 seconds using only your grip strength to suspend your weight from a bar? Number 2, can you deadlift 200% of your body weight? Which means if you weigh 200 pounds, can you deadlift 400 pounds? Number 3, can you squat 150% of your body weight? Which means if you weigh 200 pounds, then you should be able to squat 300 pounds. And then number 4, can you shoulder press 75% of your body weight? Which means if you weigh 200 pounds, can you strict press 150 pounds over your head? And when you see that and you start measuring that, you will quickly realize that no, you are not in pretty good shape. You are lacking things that you need in everyday life. So how do you know if you are truly in good shape or not? Then you need to start to measure, okay? And here's the last lie. The last lie is this: I can't afford insert whatever it might be. I can't afford this, I can't afford this, I can't afford eating right, I can't afford a gym membership, I can't afford a supplements, I can't afford a consultation with Dr. Thompson. Whatever it might be, guys, you can insert that. And I will tell you this from the bottom of my heart, this comes from personal experience, is you can afford whatever you want to afford. You really can. You can afford whatever you want to afford, okay? So think of this. Whenever I have really wanted something, my brain has figured out a way. And in fact, I'll even tell people, hey, listen, you could afford a Lamborghini if you wanted to. And people say, no, I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to eat. I wouldn't be able to afford my house, wouldn't be able to clothe my kids. And I said, yeah, but if you really wanted the Lamborghini, then you could forego all of that and put 100% of your resources in that Lamborghini, and voila, you can afford it. And then what they'll say is they'll say, yeah, but owning a Lamborghini is not a priority of mine. And I said, I agree. Then you need to figure out what your priorities truly are. See, you will afford anything that becomes a priority in your life. That includes your nutrition. That includes a gym membership. I'm always amazed at people looking at the cheapest gym membership that they go to that they can hide out for an hour and a half, and 6 months later, they're no better. They look no different. They're no stronger. They never measure anything that they do, but they just go just to check off their box while their life stays the same. So the question is, guys, is how much do you spend truly eating out? How much do you spend at Starbucks? How much do you spend on your physical appearance? Oh, that might be very tough. How much do you spend on your hair, your nails, on your skin? Guys, if you want to actually look better, start working on your health from the inside out, and your hair and your skin and your nails will all get better. How about unused memberships? So guys, how many of you have actually gone and said, man, you know what? I really don't need Netflix. I really don't need this Amazon membership. I really don't need this huge cable bill. I really don't need it. But how much do you continue to spend? And how much of you actually spend a lot of money on what we would call Cadillac insurance? So we have people coming in shaking their insurance cards saying, it must be paid by this because I pay good money for it. No, you should talk to your insurance company. You're paying good money for the veil of insurance coverage. What's so amazing is that if a Cadillac insurance company, they will pay for you to put out all the fires in the world, but they will never pay for you to prevent a fire, and they will never pay for you to try to figure out what caused the fire in the first place. And so I hear you are spending, some people, $1,500, $2,000 a month on insurance that you really wouldn't want to use in the first place, and you probably wouldn't even need it if you would start working on your health and stop saying that I'm in pretty good health. And so you look at all of that, and if you can start reframing your brain, you're going to say, you know what? I guess I'm starting to see that there are different opportunities out there, okay? Here's an amazing stat. This comes from U.S. facial injectable market, all right? So things like looking at fillers and looking at Botox. Guys, I am in amazement that the number of people, how much they spend on Botox and spending on lip fillers and things like that. Things to try to make you beautiful of what society says that you're supposed to look, when in reality, your skin and everything else, you would look better by not being so inflamed. You would look better by keeping your insulin levels down. All of those things would look so much better, but yet it's easy to just apply things versus working on our health. This is the U.S. facial injectable market from 2020, $4.6 billion, and then you can see where it's going to be at by 2030. So it will almost double. And so you will spend a lot of money on your appearance, but when it comes to and pay cash for it, but when it comes to things that will prevent disease and help you get better and to heal, then you want to rely on insurance, which is nothing but putting out fires, okay? So it's not about resources, guys. It's about being resourceful. It's not about the resources you think you don't or you don't have. It's about becoming resourceful. Because I will always say, and this should be a testament to you, is that if I have figured out a way, then I don't see why you can't figure out a way either. Because I don't see myself as extremely talented, extremely gifted, extremely smart. There's people smarter than me. There's people more talented speaker than me. There's people more gifted in other areas. And which is why I always say, hey, I'm a normal person, and if I figured it out, then if you use a little bit of elbow grease, I think that you might be able to figure it out as well. So why do so many people tell these lies? Because they don't measure. And in fact, they compare themselves to a society that is sick, that is suffering, that is out of shape, that is depressed, that spends way too much money on sick care and not health care. And they spend their money on things to improve appearance versus actual relationships and health. So how do you know if you're pretty good is pretty bad? Well, you need to measure. And to measure is to know, and to not measure is to guess. And guessing will always be pretty good in your book, because we never ever want to face the facts and say, maybe my pretty good is actually pretty bad. And the only way to know is that you measure. Now remember this, guys, if you are watching, I will promise you this, I do not believe that you are mediocre. I don't. I believe that every single person has greatness. And in order to achieve greatness, you're going to need your health, you're going to need your vitality, you're going to need your energy. And this is why I'm so passionate about health, is to help people get their health back, to help them accomplish the great things that they want to do in their life. But remember this, it's the mediocre who always think that they're at their best. It's the mediocre who always think that they are at their best. And so I never ever think that I'm at my best. I always think, how can I get better? How can I improve? What's the next step? And I want you to start thinking that way as well. So guys, thank you very much for listening to this. Hopefully it's changed a little bit of your mindset. And just remember, coming up November 8th at 6 o'clock p.m. here at the office, Exemplify Health Center, we'll be doing our inflammation talk. Please get registered for that as your first steps as far as becoming a patient in the office. When you understand inflammation, it makes everybody's job that much easier. And again, guys, if you're still watching this, if you are interested in participating, not giving it a try, but following through in the No Sugar Challenge starting November 1st, going all the way until Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Let me know. We can start a Facebook group, and then we can give you the resources on what truly no sugar actually means. And so while other people are saying I'm doing pretty good on my nutrition and dousing themselves with Halloween candy and with Christmas parties and just eating terribly, you'll actually be moving yourself forward and putting yourself way ahead of the game, especially when it comes to January 1st. Let me know in the comments if you guys are interested in doing that. And if we have enough people who are interested, we definitely would like to be able to provide that to all the people who are on this page and also on Dr. Nathan Thompson's page as well. So guys, be well, be blessed. Thank you for watching during this lunchtime hour. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Be well, be blessed, and remember who you are.